guys, today's video is going to be a little different. I'm actually going to do a step-by-step of how to do an infusion that I do every other week. I have a rare disease called agammaglobulinemia. It is a form of primary immunodeficiency disease. Most people don't think that they've heard of primary immunodeficiency disease, but you actually have. If you know of the boy in the bubble, David Vetter, a lot of people may remember the movie that John Travolta was in the 70s. David Vetter actually had a form of primary immunodeficiency disease, Cleo. He had the most severe form. Mine's not as bad as his, but it's not good to have any form of this disease. People with my disease, we catch viruses easily. We get infections easily. And the infections, unfortunately, can be deadly. They have come out with plasma infusions or gammaglobulin infusions. They are made from human plasma, plasma that people have donated. No. And a lot of you have probably heard about these kind of infusions here lately being used to treat COVID. It's where people who have had COVID have the antibodies in their system, and those people donate plasma, and the plasma that they have is donated to people who have COVID, so it helps them to fight off COVID a little bit easier. Unfortunately, with that going on, a lot of us that you rely on plasma donations that we usually get for our infusions and things like that, we very soon may run into a problem where we won't be getting them. Now, it's not been announced that there's a shortage yet, but we are on the road for a plasma shortage. So we need everybody that we can to get out there and donate plasma. Whether you've had COVID or not, we need everybody that can donate to donate, just so that we can prevent any kind of shortage from happening. I tend to do okay as long as I'm getting my infusions. I still get sick pretty frequently, but it's not as severe. Before I was diagnosed, I would get pneumonia very, very frequently. And I would wake up in the mornings feeling fine, and within a couple of hours, I would be in ICU with my organs being close to shutting down. And that's just how fast it would hit, and we had no idea what was going on. And after a little while, an immunologist was brought in to try to figure out what was happening. And it turns out that I didn't have any antibodies to fight off any kind of infection. So my body wasn't doing anything to fight it off. It was just letting it take over. But after I started my infusions and everything, it got better. But because since COVID is new, the antibodies are not in our infusions yet. Not for people like me, and it could be a few years before that happens. The only people that are getting the infusions that have the COVID antibodies are the people with COVID. So a lot of us are actually having to stay pretty much hunkered down through this entire thing. I go to work, and I very rarely do anything else. I go to work and I come home. And to be honest, that's not really a lot different than the way I was living before, just because I do everything I can to try to prevent being around germs or anything like that. people with my disease, we refer to ourselves as zebras, and that's because whenever doctors are in medical school, they are taught to look for the most common answers to what it could be, the common diagnoses. And they are told, when you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. Well, every now and then you've got to start looking for a zebra. If you can't find the answer looking for a horse, then you're going to have to start looking at the zebras. And that's the motto of the Immune Deficiency Foundation. It's basically, when you hear hoofbeats, think zebras, not horses. And we're just trying to get doctors to start looking a little closer at what things could be, because not everybody's going to have a common illness. Some of us are going to have something different, and it's going to have to be treated different. A lot of people could have this disease for years and not be diagnosed. And that's very unfortunate, because not having this disease treated, a lot of things can happen. Your organs can become damaged, and a lot of people can lose their lives. And it's very scary to think about, but there's not really any other way to look at it. It's a very serious disease, and with everything going on right now, it's pretty scary. And I want to give everybody an idea of what it's like and what goes into these infusions and how their donations help. And I'll probably link in the description box where you can look and find the closest donation center. And I'll probably link the Immune Deficiency Foundation website too, because you can also donate money to them if you don't want to donate plasma, because the Immune Deficiency Foundation has a lot of resources. But as you can see, I actually already have my numbing cream on for my infusion. And I will be going through step by step what to do. And you'll basically be going through my infusion with me. I won't show myself putting the needles in on video, because I don't think that's necessary. I think everybody knows how a needle goes into the skin. But I will go ahead and cut off the footage for now, and I'll get everything ready, and then we'll start it back up. So I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, we're back. And I'm going to start off by showing you all the supplies that I use. I wash my hands, which I've already done that, and I also use sanitizer quite frequently throughout the infusion, just because I'm very paranoid about germs and whatnot. All of us that have to do these infusions, we keep EpiPens on. Cleo, no. We keep EpiPens on hand and keep them with us whenever we're doing our infusions, because no matter how long you've been doing an infusion, there's always a risk of anaphylaxis. So we keep that on hand. These are actually the vials that, I don't know if it'll actually focus. Maybe too bright. Anyway, these are the vials that our immunoglobulin comes in. Mine is 8 grams a bottle, and I do 16 grams per infusion. And me being the size I am, I actually swell quite a bit after my infusion, just because there's so much, I guess, fluid going into such a small area. And I infuse in my stomach, but there are a number of places that you can infuse. You can infuse in the lower back area, you can infuse in the thighs, and basically anywhere that's got just a little bit of fatty tissue in it. Let's see here. The mini spikes we use to actually go into the syringes when we load the immunoglobulin into the syringe. That's what the mini spikes are for. And they'll look kind of intimidating, but these don't actually go into the skin or anything. This is just to suck up the immunoglobulin. But here are the syringes. There's 2 here. And this is the flow rate tubing. And the flow rate tubing controls the rate in which the immunoglobulin actually goes into the body. This is actually F600. Mine actually goes in pretty quickly. Like, I think mine lasts anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours. So it's a pretty fast process. And then we have, this is the needle set, which you can't really see because of the little things that hold the needle into your skin. But I have a 4-set thing of needles because I actually infuse in 4 different spots onto my stomach. These are little tegaderms that are in here. These are actually what go over the needle and hold them into your skin while the infusion is going on. I do not use these because I have a sensitivity to them. What I end up using are these IV 3000 because these are better for those of us with sensitive skin. Let me see here. And I also have this little, like, I used to do a different brand of immunoglobulin, and they sent this really neat little board that has like a step-by-step process. I use it whenever I do my infusions. Like, I'll set it down here. And I'll take, this is actually a really handy board. Like, take my little alcohol swab here, and I'll go over the entire board here just to make sure it's sanitized. And then what I'll do, get my trash bag here, is I'll take one of these. This is actually just like a little dressing pad. And I'll put it on top of the board here. Okay. And then when I've got that done, I go ahead and sanitize again because I'm paranoid. Okay. Alright. And the next thing I do is I make sure that, I'll pop these little purple caps off the vials. And then I take 2 more alcohol swabs. And I will I'll just take 1 swab for each vial and set it on top of the vial. Okay. And I'll do the same with the other one. Okay. And then after that, I'll take the 2 syringes that we got here. And this is at the point where I've just kind of opened everything up on top of the, on top of the surface that I have going on here where it's sanitized and for the most part germ-free. And if I have to touch anything that I feel may have been dirty or it's not sterilized, I go on ahead and use more sanitizer. Like, I just have to touch my little plastic bag that I put all of my trash from this in. I touched it, so I went and sanitized again. And what I do whenever I load these, I go ahead, there's like a little space in here whenever you unpackage them. And I just kind of make sure the air is going out of it and push it the rest of the way. Okay, and then I open up my mini spikes here. And then I will open the flow rate tubing. And then the needles. And I throw the tegaderms away. And this is what the needles will look like when you've taken them out. They tie them together pretty well, and they've got these little butterfly things on them to keep the needle protected, which there's also a little tube around the needle as well. Okay, and then I just take the mini spike and put on top of the syringes, like so. They screw right on. Okay, and then I will take my vials here, and I kind of go ahead and just kind of pull the cotton swab off, like I'll rub it across. And then I take this little protective piece off of the mini spike, and you can kind of see where it's, and I just kind of press it into the top of the vial, and you'll hear it click. And I just kind of hold on to the bottle and the syringe and just gently pull, and you can kind of see the liquid going into the syringe. And there's always going to be a tiny bit extra in the vial when you're done, and that's going to happen because they put a little overfill in there just to make sure that you get all that you need and not a whole bunch of air. Like a little bit of air bubbles it's not going to be a bad thing for you, because it's not going into your vein, it's just going under the skin. But I always go a little bit extra, and kind of like there will be a little bit of air there, and I kind of, well, let me go ahead and open up my alcohol swab and just kind of squeeze the air out until just a little comes through. And the cats are fighting. And I'll take that alcohol swab and just throw that out. And this is where I put the cap back on the mini spike. And then I'll get that out of the way. And then I'll do the exact same thing with the other vial and the other syringe. So I'll just take this off. Okay. And then after I've done that, and both of the syringes are filled, I will take the mini spike off of just one of them. And then I'll take this end of the flow rate tubing, and I'll take the cap off and then screw it onto the syringe. And there will be another end of this flow rate tubing. And I'll take the cap off of it, and then take the cap off of the end of the needle set. And then screw those two together. Okay, and this is what it'll look like until that point. And I always get these tangled up until I get the little paper things off of them. Okay, I'll take the little paper tabs off of the tubing. Trixie, you better not hop up here. You'll get in trouble. Okay. And this is a step that not everybody does. I think a lot of the people that have been trained to do their own infusions recently are being told that they do not have to do this, but I am a creature of habit, and I've been doing this for many years. And when I was taught to do it, this is what we did. But this is a process called priming the tubing. And what this is where you hand push the fluid all the way through the tubing up to a certain point in the tubing. And you don't want it to get past a certain point because that'll make it more likely to have kind of not a reaction to the infusion, I guess, but more just kind of a surface reaction. Your skin will start to burn and you'll get some itchiness and things like that. You do not want the fluid to go past a certain point on the tubing. But what I do is I'll just squeeze it, and it's kind of hard to squeeze because that flow rate tubing is kind of puts a control on it. But you're not going to be able to see the fluid going through the tubing in the video because it's too far away probably, but okay. And after that, what I do is I get all my dressings and stuff ready. So I'll lay out, goodness me, I'll lay out my cotton pads, which is what I will use to take the numbing cream off that I have on my stomach right now. And a lot of people actually do not use numbing cream. The needles are very small. But I'm a nervous person, and I would rather know for sure that I'm not going to feel anything. Even if it's just a tiny pinch, I don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel anything happen to me. So I'll need 4 of those. And then I will also need 4 alcohol swabs. And I will partially open all of those. Okay, and I will also need my IV 3000s, which sounds like a really fancy something, but it's not. Isn't that like a rapper's name? Andre 3000? 2000? Sounds familiar. From Outkast. That's probably what I'm thinking about. It has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm doing in this video, but for some reason that came to my mind. Alright. And this is the point after, well, after I get all this set up is when I gone ahead and wipe off the numbing cream, and then basically these little cotton pads, I'll do one, let me go ahead and stand up. I'll do like one area first, like I'll do this first. I'll take this peeling off, and then I'll take a cotton pad, I will wipe off the numbing cream, and then I will take one of these alcohol swabs and then swab down the area, and I'll know where the area is, which is another reason why I like the numbing cream, because the area that's been numbed will be a lot wider than the rest of the skin. There will just be a white circle there. And after I've swabbed it with the alcohol swab, that's when I put the needle in. After I've got the needle in, I will take one of these and place over the needle, and it'll hold the needle there for the duration of the infusion. But I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, and then I'll be back to show you, I guess, starting up the pump, and that's basically all there is until you take the needles out. And I'm definitely not going to show that on camera either. So showing you how to start the pump is basically probably going to be the end of it. There's paperwork that I do, but I'm not going to show you how to do that because not every person actually does filling out the logbook and all that. But I will be back in a few minutes after I get all the needles in and everything. Alright, we are back, and I've got my needles in, but if you'll look, I only have 3 needles in, and I have a Band-Aid right here. One of the needles I could not get to go in, and when I finally got it to go in, it was hurting really bad. So I went ahead and took it out, and we're just going to infuse in 3 different spots. When something like that happens, or when you check for blood return, which we'll talk about that more in a second, or like when you check for blood return and there's blood in the tubing, a lot of the times you have to take the needle out and just not use that site. And what happens is, it's going to be kind of hard to show you, but that particular tube, you will tie it off, like basically tie a knot, take the clamp and then clamp the tube right after the knot, and then tie another knot. And that's just to make sure that no fluid goes through this tubing at all. And basically it'll just be in these 3 sites here. Not here. But in this part, before we actually insert the syringe into the pump, what you'll do is you'll just pull back a little bit on the syringe to check and see if there is any blood in the tubing. And there is not. So that means everything is good. The reason you want to make sure there is no blood in the tubing, because if there is blood in the tubing, it usually means you've hit a vein. Our infusion stuff like this, unless you're doing an IV immunoglobulin, you do not insert in a vein. It is not compatible with your veins. The sub-Q is only for right under the skin in like the little fatty tissue areas. I don't know how to do the IV IG, so I can't give you any information on that. But the next thing you want to do is, which I've already got my pump set up, after each infusion, after I take the syringe out, I'll wind it back up to where this little black switch here is right back at the beginning, so I can just quickly insert my syringe in when I start my infusion back up. But you're just going to put it in like this, and it'll kind of, once you get it in, it doesn't really move. Okay, and I'm not going to start it up just yet, but if you remember, there is another syringe. After this one is empty, I will take the tubing, let me take this back out. I will take this part of the tubing off of the syringe and take this mini spike off and just switch this tube right over to the next syringe, and then do the same thing, just load it back into the pump here. Okay. And then, make sure everything's good, I will flip this switch here down, or up, it's up. And then you'll hear it make a noise, and that's the little black piece moving up. And you'll hear it click. And that means the infusion is starting. And every now and then, whenever I start my infusion, it does sting a little. It doesn't seem to be doing that this time. But that's basically all there is to starting it up. And I actually have a little case that I put my pump in. I just kind of slip it in there like that. Zip it up. And usually I don't have any extra tubing, but this time I do, so I kind of just stick that in here in this little extra pocket. I don't know if that's what that pocket's for, but that's what it's getting used for. And then, which in this little pocket here, there's like a little plastic piece where you can kind of see how far along you are in the syringe. And I just kind of carry it with me like this. And I can actually do stuff like around the house or stuff while I'm doing my infusion, but after a few minutes I am getting pretty tired and it takes a lot out of me, and I'm actually very tired for days after my infusion. But that's pretty much all there is to getting the actual infusion started. The other part of it is, which I think I'm actually out of pages on here. I'll just have to make my own page. But this is actually the log where I did. I don't think you can actually see it very well. Like I think this was my last infusion log. But yeah, the stickers from the vials come off. And we actually save those because if there's any kind of recall or anything like that, we'll have the lot number and everything to know if we were affected by one of the recalls. And we can also show our doctors or our immunologists these logs. That way they can keep up with if we've had any kind of reactions during our infusions or anything like that. So since I ran out of pages on this log, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick the stickers on the very back of this page. Trixie, that's not a toy. I'm going to stick those on there like so. Trixie Ann! Stop that. Alright, and then I'll write today's date, which I don't remember what it is. Trixie, what's today's date? Trixie. She doesn't know what the date is either. I'll write that down in a minute. I'll put that I've done 16 grams. And I will put that I did 3 spots in stomach. And that'll be it because I ran out of pages. Okay, and that's basically everything. I just wanted to show everybody what their plasma donations, like one thing the plasma donations went towards. I can't tell if I'm hearing gunshots or fireworks. It could go either way. But I just wanted everybody to kind of get an idea of the importance of their donations and things like that, and how important the donations are going to be coming up in the future, because we're going to need a lot of people to start donating because it's going to get kind of rough here, and it's already getting pretty rough, but we're going to need a whole lot of donations, enough to cover the people that need them for COVID and enough to cover all the other diagnoses and diseases that need the plasma. But I'll link the places or the websites that'll show you where you can donate. Trixie? No. But I'll link the website that'll show where you can go to donate and other ways that you can help those of us with primary immunodeficiency diseases. Until then, Trixie's trying to get in the video. You can hop up here, Trixie. Come here. You want to be in the video? Come here. Come here, you want to be in the video? Come here. I'll let you be in the video. Come on. Come on. I'll let you be in the video. Well, I don't guess she wants to be in the video. But I may do another video tomorrow. It'll be with the Coast to Coral palette by ColourPop. A friend of mine actually bought the palette for me and one of the Super Shock highlighters. And that's actually the makeup I'm wearing today. But I'm going to do another look with it tomorrow. You don't need that. More than likely tomorrow if I feel like it. Like I may be too tired. Trixie, this video is not about you. Lord. Okay. But I guess that's it. On that note, I think I'm just gonna go because I got nothing left. I don't know how to end after that. So I will just see y'all maybe tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know. But I'll see y'all then. Bye.